Hi, I'm Paul. For this video, I'm going to talk about where the ego comes from. But when I say ego, I'm just going to not really use that word. I'm going to suggest the thought creator, the motion of thoughts. Where does the motion of thoughts come from? In other words, where do we create this separation that we all seem to have created? Where does that come from? I've talked a little bit about this in another video, but I'm going to take it from a different angle. So imagine that we're a little baby just been born, or imagine our baby. So in psychology, what we say is when a baby is before 18 months old, then the baby sees me and mummy as one, not separate. Now, this is what we say in psychology, but I think it goes way deeper than that. I think rather than saying before 18 months, me and mummy are one, I think we could say mummy as in Mother Earth, everything. There's no separation, no division, just what is. No me. But in psychology, after 18 months, we say this is where the separation and individuation stage comes in. Separation. An I, a me, a division, a motion of thought, an attachment onto the thought. Then instead of what is, you see everything through these tinted glasses of I. What I like, what I want, what I think. I create security in this I, creating my own appearance of the world in a secure and safe way. So it seems that this I, this attachment to thought, this thought maker, does it want to seek security? A lot of us describe as adults that we create thoughts of the future. So we go into our past memories and we project these thoughts into the future and create scenarios, perhaps scenarios of tomorrow, and then we start saying, well, if this happens, how are we going to deal with that? What about this? And then so on. Our thoughts just drift, trying to solve the problem of what we just created. When I say what we just created, we created a tomorrow, which was only an idea. Then we created what might happen tomorrow, which is only an idea. Then we come up with solutions of what we could do if these things happen, which is only an idea. But you can see this thought is trying to gain security so that it can say, well, I've solved all the different scenarios of what might happen tomorrow, so when tomorrow happens, I've got control of it. We project future images, future ideals. It's like we chase things and try to grab onto new things that we can put into our bag of ideal self. So going back to the baby, why does the baby feel the need to seek security? When I say security, I mean psychological security. Baby's always going to need both physical security and psychological security, but why does the baby feel the need to create its own psychological security? So let's create a scenario where a baby is born and the parents can look after the baby, and the parents get everything right. They can see the baby itself. They can fulfill the baby's needs for the baby. So this is not where the parent has an ideal itself. Not where the parents are seeing the baby as a thought or an idea or what they should do or shouldn't do from looking at knowledge of how to look after a baby which isn't this baby. A parent who is just completely open to the situation itself. No ideas of their own. No ideas of thinking, if I do this with the baby, then I would be a great parent. Just complete in the moment. This parent sees the baby and solves the baby's psychological and physical needs every moment perfectly. So then this baby doesn't need to worry about creating its own security. All security is met. So at this point of not creating its own security, it doesn't become attached to thoughts, let's say. It doesn't need to have thoughts to predict, to project, to fulfill, to find security in the thoughts. It just is. Well, let's say this perfect parent who's got it perfectly right. Not an image of themselves, not an image of what they should be, but just purely acting or reacting to the situation immediately without any questions or scenarios or ideas or images. So this parent's got everything right. Let's say this parent by accident. And this isn't to blame anybody, this isn't anybody's fault, this is just the way that things go. But let's just say, for instance, the parent by accident drops the baby. And I'm not saying from a height, let's say from even this height, just something tiny. The parent accidentally drops the baby, or something else goes wrong. A baby falls. And then the baby cries. Gets really, really upset, and we think that baby's crying because of the pain, because it's just fallen. But yet that baby has had all its needs met. It's fully secure. But then all of a sudden it falls, and its whole idea of security, everything has just failed. And in this scenario, that security in the outside world can be so fragile. And now this baby says, I've lost my idea of security in the world and my parents. This is frightening. Maybe this is where trauma comes from. But then the baby has to then create security. So it tries to exit the real world of just being, and then becomes attached onto thought, where thought was always in control. And this attachment to the thought is kind of like the separation. So there's the real, just seeing, which could be fragile. Then there's this, how can I put it? Let's say brick wall, cage, fence. And then on the other side of the fence is the attachment to thought that predicts, gives the illusion of security. So we become attached to thoughts. And if we become attached to thoughts, this creates a division from the world itself, which is just being or this moment, because you can't create security in tomorrow when you're just being. You have to create a division, create the illusion of tomorrow. And if you can create the illusion of tomorrow, you can create the scenarios and the ways out of gaining control and so on of tomorrow. So this separation stage, I think that's what it is. We could also say this is the Plato's cave idea. We only see the shadows. We become attached to thoughts. We only see the thoughts of the world creating, like I say, a brick wall, a fence, or whatever. This is, I think that the unconscious mind is this. I don't think we should have an unconscious mind. I think the unconscious mind is created in that division, in that separation, in the attachment to thought. Because if I want to gain control of tomorrow, I want to gain control of scenarios, situations, thoughts, ideas, I want to have security in knowing what's going to come, then the real world has to be fragmented and divided. There's parts which I don't want to see, because it doesn't fit in with the story of what gives me security. So then I create an unconscious where all these parts go. So in a sense, I think it's only the division, the separation, the creating of the thought creator, the ego, which creates the unconscious mind. And if you didn't have this, there'd be no division, no fragmentation, just a full acceptance of everything. And therefore, I don't think you would have an unconscious mind. Now, don't jump down my throat and say, yeah, but the unconscious mind, if you didn't have this, you would be able to know your heartbeats and so on. I don't mean that. I mean psychological unconscious mind. So I think it's creating this unconscious mind, or division, which is the ego trying to fragment everything, which is reality, or truth, should I say. Fragment all of truth into reality, which is your own reality of the world, then placing some of it in the unconscious mind where it can't be seen, and some of it in the conscious mind where you can control the future. Anyway, I think that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for listening.